A mighty move of God is coming. It's why you've been so tired. It's why you've needed all the rest. It's why people have felt very peoply. It's why you've sort of isolated in a healthy way. Not an unhealthy way, but a healthy way. It's been you and the Holy Spirit, maybe your kids, and you are just hunkered down. And can't nobody convince you otherwise right now. And that's healthy, that's good when it comes from the Holy Spirit. I think about, be still and know that I am God. God says it to me all the time. When I'm getting ahead of myself, when I'm trying to figure out the next move, when he shows me something and I'm trying to figure out how he wants me to get there, he's like, have I ever give you every step? Do I ever give you more than the finish? Do I ever give you more than just a knowing? Usually not. Sometimes God will show me the full end picture. And I know it's going to be way bigger than I think. But a lot of times when God tells you in your spirit, we have this thing in us where we, living in the spirit, we want to live where the spirit is already. Like we want to live according to what God showed us, and we can. But we also have to help our bodies to live in the now, because it is exhausting when God is preparing a move. It's exhausting because God knows you're not going to rest on your own. God knows you. He knows you can't be still. He knows that about me. He will make me tired. He will make me sleepy. He will give me a reason to lay down. He will give me a desire to get alone. And sometimes that will come from people being so peoply that I have to shut every door. And it's just me, and it's just God and my kids. And in this moment and in this season, I want you to remember. Go back and remember what he said to Moses, and you will go unto a land that I will show you. He didn't tell him what it was. He didn't say what it looked like or what it would be like or how they'd get there. That was the beginning arrow, was just that. It takes a lot of trust to move with the Holy Spirit. But when you trust him, you're afraid to move in any other way. In fact, I'd really like to tell you a story that I think will bless you if you're having trouble with rest and movement. A few months before my best friend had passed, the Lord would not get off of me about buying this suitcase that was not only expensive, but that I didn't think I needed. So over time, I've told my kids about it. It's this beautiful brand name, fashion sketched suitcase that's black and white, and it covers a span of so many landmarks. It has churches and the Vatican and Paris, and it's just very beautiful. And I tell God, look, God, I don't need to spend money. God, I travel all the time, and I have a traveling ministry. I go a lot, and I have enough suitcases. And it's hard to buy a pretty suitcase, because if there's one thing about an airline, I love them, but they are going to ruin my pretty suitcase. So I only try to buy suitcases that aren't that beautiful on the outside, just sturdy, and they're going to hold up for a long time. But the Lord wouldn't let up, and my son Ben carries my gift, and he's like, Mama, if the Lord told you to go get it, you just need to go get it. I was like, okay. And I had 30 minutes in between counseling my clients for the day. I was like, all right, Benny, let's just go ahead and go. Like, I have every ounce of defeat about having to go do this, and I have a sadness, and I don't know why yet. And before I even tell my son what it looks like, he goes and he pulls it out. He said, is it this one? Yeah, it's that one. He swivels it around. He's so excited. He takes it to the checkout, and I'm sitting here going, and I don't know why I'm not excited. And he keeps telling me, look how good it moves, Mama. Look just how it effortlessly moves. Well, 3 months later, my best friend passed, and Paris was the one thing that she wanted to do in her life that wasn't God. She loved God. Like, God was everything, but she wanted to go to Paris. Like, she wanted to go to the cafes, and it was something we did down here. We'd find Parisian cafes. We'd do our nails. We'd go. And we would have just a bougie girl on a budget day. And she was so good at creating these moments. And I loved watching her in these moments because she just enjoyed herself so much. Now, little did I know, I was going to end up at the same store buying her mama the same print of this makeup bag and cozy socks and little things that the Lord had told me to go buy her when my best friend had passed. And I remember the note that she had given me said, "This is everything Ebony would have got me." And I didn't know that I was buying myself a suitcase that would essentially be from the Holy Spirit, and later on in memory of my best friend. On my prayer wall is in small letters, because everything's ministry and family related on my prayer wall. I'm not a big wanter of the things. But God told me to write where I wanted to go one time, and I was like, I'd really like to go to Italy. That's where I want to go. And I remember the day she passed, and I remember one of the last things I said to her as I was letting go and saying goodbye was, "I'm going to make it to Paris for both of us one day." And we were really funny with each other. And I remember marking off on my wall through Italy, and I just put "make it to Paris." And I look over at my best friend's picture that looks back towards my bed. And I was like, well, if you hadn't have checked out on me, I wouldn't have had to go. Then I laughed, because sometimes laughter helps grief just a little bit easier, helps you to get through it with a smile. And sometimes it's a weeping, and other times it's helpful for me to look up at her and be like, you know what? Here I am down here by myself, and do you know they're bringing back they're bringing back those ugly Crocs? Do you know they're back? Yeah, and you missed it. Yeah. It helps me. It helps me get through some days when it's not easy. But I tell you that story not because it's sad. I tell you that story because God moved me to change my plans. And I don't know when that'll happen, but God's had me buy a new passport case, and it's laying in my floor right now, and I look at it and I walk by it and I'm like, have me buy this silly Hawaiian lei. And I've never wanted to go to Hawaii. I have no desire to go to Hawaii. I have a lot of beautiful viewers in Hawaii that I love, but I don't really have a desire to go to Hawaii. But all it really chalked up to is God talking about a movement. Sometimes you're just like a bee. Like you're always moving and you're always pollinating, and God's always sending you different places. And in fact, that's something that she'd often tell me. She was like, you know what? You look like you'd sing people. She was like, if people only knew how sweet you are, people only knew that you really just want to pollinate and help people grow. And you're so sweet. Just so sweet, bee. You're just so sweet. And it's why you see so many bees in my house these days. Reminds me of her. And reminds me of the movement of the Lord. So I want to end this way. I want you to know that God moves us in ways we don't always understand, and we might not always get the instructions. And I promise you, it's not always going to be bad. And at the end of the day, that might have felt bad to me, but I know she's up yonder, not worried and a care about what we're doing down here. Might not feel good to me, but I imagine heaven's a lot better than this place right here. Probably a lot better than Paris, I'm sure. But I just wanted to remind you that when God moves you, you can be unafraid. And as you're tired and exhausted and you are praying for that energy to come back, keep praying for it. But know that God has you tired for a reason sometimes, because you're going to need the rest. Because when it's time to move, when it's time to go, don't you think that a good old rest before you walk through this space of going to a promised land or moving or even entering the promised land, because they still had work to do. It all was for a reason. So take the advice of the Lord and know it's okay when it comes a little at a time. Know it's okay when you don't know. Be still and know that He is God. He alone is God, and we're never going to have every piece of the puzzle. That's never going to happen, kiddo. It's just never going to happen. And know that He is faithful to move you when it is time, and until then, rest and be still and know. But know that a mighty move of God is coming for you and through the people around you. So if you're tired, sit down beside me, because honey, so am I. But when God is ready to move His people, there's no demon in hell that can stop it. I love you.